Our country's recent history has been written and rewritten by whistleblowers. But in speaking out, they risk losing their jobs, their families, and sometimes even their lives. In the pursuit of truth, they're often vilified, treated as outcasts and villains by elements of the very society they try to protect.
Snitch, rat, 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝘀, 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀.
Just some of the insults directed at the people who are among the country's bravest. So what happens to whistleblowers when the dust eventually settles?
I got to the point of where dying was easier.
It's been 5 years since we first told her story, and Bianca Goodson is still fighting to get her life back.
I became unemployable, so I almost lost my house. I got divorced, couldn't get a job. And then there's the smear campaigns, and I was labeled a disgruntled employee, and it was absolutely horrible.
It was 2015. Revelations were breaking around allegations of corruption on a grand scale. Bianca had uncovered a plot at the financial firm she worked for to steal billions of rands from state-owned Eskom.
Turns out that they were affiliated to the Guptas.
Goodson's revelations were among the first to reveal a complex patronage network in which private business interests had captured elements of the state. At its center were the notorious Gupta brothers.
At the time of state capture, you couldn't even go to the police. You wake up one morning and you can trust going to the shops. And then the next morning you drive to the shops, but you're looking if people are following you.
And she wasn't alone. Others were in the fight of their lives too. 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀's world was thrown into disarray after taking a stand against corruption while group treasurer at South African Airways. But far from being rewarded for blocking a dodgy multi-million rand financing deal, like so many others, she was ostracized and eventually fired. She was gagged from speaking publicly, but was eventually able to tell her side of a bitter story at the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, established in 2018 to investigate state capture.
I was unable to speak at the disciplinary hearing or the 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝘀. And so that gave me my voice to be able to speak my story.
Bianca also testified.
And I had to stand by my evidence and say, I was the person who signed this, I was the person who did this. And after that, the years that followed, I became a walking affidavit.
Both women made what are known as protected disclosures, shielding them from unfair repercussions, at least in theory. But that didn't spare them the public attacks that followed, with some questioning whether they too were criminals. Despite being highly qualified, they were isolated, spurned, jobless.
I didn't realize that trying to do the right thing for your country was traumatic. I mean, I still suffer from PTSD. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible experience.
Left in the lurch, with little or no help from the state they tried to rescue, they took matters into their own hands.
Following the Commission of Inquiry, many whistleblowers found themselves at a loss. Everything that had led up to them testifying made it hard to try and figure out what the future holds. That's when Whistleblower House was founded.
It became so clear that there was a need in society for an institution that could actually provide that support. And I just got frustrated at how so many business people want to help whistleblowers, but don't have the mechanism to help whistleblowers.
Bianca thought, who better to understand whistleblowers than other whistleblowers? After the trauma of the Zondo Commission, she believed their shared experience could be harnessed for change. And she found a kindred spirit in former SARS head and fellow whistleblower 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝘀𝗆. He'd been forced from his job by a sustained political and media campaign falsely claiming he'd been part of a rogue investigating unit. He and Bianca had a shared vision for a space in which whistleblowers could find sanctuary. 2 years ago, they registered Whistleblower House as a non-profit organization.
And surprisingly, although we had no funding at the time, we started getting whistleblower requests and people started looking for help.
Far from being an actual bricks and mortar building, the NPO is an online portal offering assistance and support. Anything from financial and legal advice to counseling. An organization for whistleblowers by whistleblowers. 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝘀 joined the cause, becoming CEO.
In that first month, we already had over 20 whistleblowers coming to us. To date, we've got over 160 whistleblowers. So we're supporting from finding them psychological support. Some we've provided security and safety, either upgrade their security or B, they stay in a safe home.
Funding comes from donors determined to join the fight against corruption. Their support has been steady rather than a deluge.
Today, I'm very happy to say that in total, we received 7 million, which is 10% of what we actually need.
𝗵𝗶𝘀 is a certified fraud examiner and joined the NPO just months after it was set up. While not an actual house, its door is always open via an online application.
What we do is we provide legal advice before you want to blow the whistle, so that you understand how to do it. And secondly, after you've blown the whistle, your rights must be protected, both with law enforcement agencies as well with the company that you work for.
What did you say are some of the difficulties that are faced by whistleblowers?
There should be no retaliation once you're a whistleblower. The Protected Disclosure Act is supposed to protect the whistleblower, but it doesn't.
And while they navigate complex legal matters that can often take years to resolve, the House offers what it calls survival funding.
They can just pay their lights and water account or their children's school fees or put food on the table.
And donors unable to assist with hard cash support in other areas.
Battling to find new jobs and families not too keen to put their lives at risk. The price for doing the right thing is far too high. And that's just for those who survive. Who can forget those who paid with their lives?
It's often said that, unlike in the movies, real heroes don't wear capes. And 𝗵𝗶𝘀𝗀 was certainly heroic. 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝘀𝗀 is a name large in our country's battle against the corrupt. She's an inspiration to those who refuse to be silenced, prepared to sacrifice all in the pursuit of what's right. But hers is a cautionary tale too, a reminder to other whistleblowers of what's at stake.
9 shots in broad daylight. 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝘀𝗀 stood no chance. She red-flagged procurement irregularities at the Gauteng Department of Health, and within 3 weeks, she was murdered.
𝗵𝗶𝗀 did the right thing. She raised her hand. She said, there are suspicious transactions here. The direct supervisor did nothing. And she was murdered.
One of the first 160 people signing up with Whistleblower House, Patricia Mashale, is still anxious about her safety. We met at a location we've been asked to keep secret.
I must stay where I am. I'm afraid of getting assassinated because of the several attempts on my life.
Even more alarming than the assassination attempts are the people likely to be behind them. Patricia lost her job and was forced into hiding after blowing the whistle on senior members of the police.
I told myself that I am going to name them, and I'm still busy up until today.
Whistleblower House proved to be Patricia's salvation when there was nowhere left to turn.
So the Whistleblower House helped me with a grant to pay for accommodation. They are currently now helping me with a legal representative. They really came through for me.
Despite damning whistleblower testimony and the Zondo Commission's own findings, those accused of state capture are yet to face the consequences. As she waits for the wheels of justice to slowly turn, if they ever do, Bianca is conquering her demons and rebuilding her life.
Whistleblowing isn't a moment, it's like it changes your life.
And the lessons of her journey will surely benefit those now gathered in Whistleblower House.